Welcome, you all. I am Baron Baptiste. Welcome to Disrupt the Drift. This is a place where we can tell the truth and the truth can be told, shattering illusions and deceptions, beginning within your own mind. David, how you doing?
Fantastic. Always wonderful to be here with you, my friend.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the world. There's division everywhere. There's the economy. People are suffering and just paying normal bills, buying food, gas. So 70% of Americans at least are suffering economically.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the political division. Things are heating up. There's people are getting highly emotional. You've got these world wars, the beginning of world wars happening. And the question in the background is, how far is this going to go? How bad is it going to get? And not to be a doomsdayer, but there's also something about being prepared within yourself, leading your own life, living your own life in a way that's integrous and authentic and genuine, and being prepared physically, mentally, spiritually. What do you see, David?
So the question that each one of us needs to ask ourselves is, am I a part of the problem or am I a part of the solution? Because there's no in between, by the way, because being neutral is not being neutral. It's just not thinking that you're either a part of the problem or the solution. That's an illusion. You can't be neutral. And there are people, I remember when I was a kid, I used to see people getting mugged in New York City and just people watching, just standing there watching, like, I'm not getting involved. And then you have people like Daniel Penny, who watched a woman get mugged in the subway and actually stopped the mugger. Now, the guy was already on drugs, and I think he died after being stopped from mugging this poor woman. Then the system took Daniel Penny and put him through the ringer, and tried to put him in prison for murder when he actually helped somebody.
If you're doing good deeds, you get punished in that way. Like the justice system has gone corrupt and backwards.
Totally.
And you see the crime level in big cities that is just off the charts. Police are disempowered. They arrest people, and within a couple hours, they're back out on the streets.
Yeah.
And repeat defenders, right? And but it can be discouraging. So there's that part of it. And then what I'm hearing you say is like, people just want to check out. I was having a conversation with someone, a friend of mine, and I was talking about just what's going on in the world, not in a doomsday sense, but like reality. Like you've got just crime. The educational system is just whack, way outdated. It's not working for our youth. So there's all these things in the world going on. And I was talking to this friend, and she didn't want to have anything. She's, oh, well, why are you focusing on negative things? And I said, It's not that I'm focusing on negative things. It's just, I want to be aware and awake to my world. I'm not obsessing about it, but I also want to have a sense of what's going on the street level, on the level of where people are living their lives, real people living and dealing with real situations, hardships. I don't want to just bury my head. And then she was saying, then do something about it. And I said, it starts right here, just in a conversation here with you. And just speaking about it without getting negative or doomsday, but it's interesting to me. And then we inevitably got off that topic because it wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when you say you're either part of the problem or you're neutral. But what is being a part of the problem? And then what is it if you're being neutral? What does that mean?
It's the same thing.
And then if you're doing something about it, does it make any kind of difference?
Of course,
even having conversations here about it, talking about it, does it make any kind of difference?
Of course it does. And by the way, being neutral and being a part of the problem is the same thing. You can't just back out of what's going on in the world. You really just can't. Because then you're just like living in a cave. You've actually put on the blinder so you don't see it, so you don't have to do anything. Or you don't feel bad about it. That's what your friend was just saying to you in the conversation. I don't want to hear about it. It makes me think about it. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah. It's negative.
And
Yeah.
by the way, I love what Jordan Peterson, Dr. Jordan Peterson said about it. He says, I've never seen anybody ever get away with anything. Never in his lifetime as a clinical therapist. He says eventually what they're doing is they're pulling that rubber band and eventually it snaps back in their face. You can't twist the fabric of reality.
And you can't ignore reality.
You can't.
The reality of your own life, including just if you're still holding on to grudges, resentments from your childhood, from the past, you don't get away with that kind of stuff. The truth comes looking for you.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it shows up as anxiety or fear, or you're a jack in the box waiting, an upset ready to happen. It's like all this unfinished reality, energy that is not being looked at. It catches up to you.
Let's talk about relationships for a moment. Everybody's had a terrible relationship that ended terribly. And then all of a sudden, here comes the urge to go find another one. And so have you learned anything from the last experience? Or are you bringing that with you with different expectations? So the
different expectations and less trust.
But here's the idea. Is that, have you learned anything? And if you haven't learned anything, then you're going to repeat the same things over and over again, expecting a different outcome. See? And so our expectations about any given thing are based upon whether or not we actually have learned anything. Now, if we've learned something, then we develop a different criteria. And the first person we look at is ourselves. Like, why did I get involved with that other person? Why am I having problems with all these different people? And so if you bring it back into the realm of your control, which is something you can control if you choose to, you can't control what other people do, but you can control how you deal with them and what you do about it. And so that's the whole thing in the nutshell, is that it comes back to you. There is no neutrality, and being a part of the problem and thinking that you can be neutral is the same thing. And then being a part of the solution is to thine own self be true, to become aware of the motives and to become aware of the unconscious forces that are driving us, and to take moments of life where lessons are learned and apply those lessons to the next situation.
What comes to mind is failure. Failure is a part of life. So relationships. Have you had relationships that have failed? Have you had goals or pursuits that you pursued and they failed? And when I say fail, is often, in my mind, when you fail at something, it's things didn't go the way you wanted them to go, or and something got disconnected in that process, something diffused, some gap got created, some disconnect. And then, so it failed. And you can put weight into that fail. So it could be the thing failed, and then different is, well, I failed. And those are two places to look. Okay. But then what is there to learn when failure? And I say failure is the only place we really learn, where we really discover the opportunity to discover, if we choose that, or we just keep on our blinders and just push blame over there. It's their fault. They're to blame. I'm innocent. I'm the victim. I have nothing to do with that. They deceived me, betrayed me, or you'll find something out there that's responsible rather than you yourself being responsible. But when you put the responsibility over on yourself, and it comes back to responsibility as the ability to respond, and you respond as a student of life. And it's like, what do I need to see here about myself? What do I need to learn here? And then you extract that gold, that lesson from the failure. You extract the gold, and then you shake off, you let go of all the rest of it. The drama, the story, the blame, the fault, whether you're to blame and it's your fault, it's someone. You shake all that off, you step in front of that, but you take the gold, the lesson, and you bring that forward in life. Not with a closed heart, not now I'm going to be defensive defensive in every next pursuit, every next relationship. I'm going to be defensive. My heart's closed. I'm guarded. Don't trust anyone or anything. Or different is being open, undefended, and awake, and bring that gold forward. So now it's like you start trusting yourself. So now when you're in this next relationship or this next pursuit, you start seeing the flags or red flags. It's wait, and you don't just skip over or step over or gloss over those flags or those incongruencies, the things that aren't matching up. No, you stop, you pause, and you address those flags. And if they don't get corrected, and if you're engaging with another person, if you can't flatten it out, correct course, then don't keep walking forward.
So the idea,
because where it will take you, it'll take you down that same track of repeating the same things and getting the same results. Insanity.
The reason why I brought up running out to get the next relationship is because people can't wait to give up their freedom. Unfortunately, freedom is a really interesting place to be, because when you're in a space of having potential and being able to make different choices, there's an unknown factor to that. And strangely enough, we tend to go toward what is familiar. And familiar, as you were talking about, failure is a familiar thing. You can actually almost predict the outcomes of everything that occurs as a failure. You can say to yourself, I know exactly what's going to happen now. But when you're in a free space, when you are reluctant to lean into failure, and when you're reluctant to make the same mistakes over and over again because you believe that there's going to be a different outcome, if you just step back long enough, you begin to see a horizon with all kinds of new potential right there in front of you that you never saw before. And this is what waking up is really all about. Learning to be objective is a totally different space than being in a subjective state of mind, which means there's part of you that wants to run back toward whatever it is that's familiar and do it over again, thinking that this is going to be different. And then you say, God, I wish I would have listened to myself, but you didn't. And that's where it happens.
And the question is, how many times do we have to keep learning the same lessons over until we don't walk down that same street? Because we know walking down that same street, it's a familiar street. We know that street, but that street has some big potholes, and inevitably you'll fall in that pothole. And you just pause, you turn back, you take another path, you walk down another street. And if there's potholes, you have eyes for them. You're not looking for the potholes, but you're aware, you're awake enough to recognize the potholes so that you can walk around them. And if it's something you shouldn't walk around, you need to address, then pause, address it, fill in the pothole, and then walk over it.
I heard this question asked one time, and it was a very compelling question, which is, what if you found out that you only had one more day on this earth to live? What would you do with that day?
What would you do?
And if you just ask yourself that question, because none of us really know when our time will come anyway. Yeah, most of us have a certain degree of longevity ahead, but if you had one day,
but we just don't know.
You don't know, but
if
you step back far enough and ask yourself, if this was all the time you had left, let's say 24 hours, how would you deal with that? What would you do? Would you resolve things? Would you do things you'd never done before? Would you try to paint a picture or play a guitar? I don't know what it would be.
Who would you be with? Who would you talk to?
Yeah, exactly.
So that you're not left with regrets.
Yeah, it's the ultimate
you put your attention on what matters most to you.
Yeah.
Not what matters.
Yeah.
Very good. This is a good place to wrap up, but any last thoughts? So we started this out by what is it to be prepared in mind, body, and spirit for what's happening in the world and what could be happening in the world. If you open your eyes and you're willing to just take a look at what's happening, is not good. It's not the wars, the crime, the educational system, the division. Who do you need to be in the face of all that? Where do you need to stand within yourself, granting yourself, giving yourself a place to stand, and discovering the place to stand in truth and in strength? You need to be prepared, because if you're just going along and drifting along, it's not going to take you to good places. You'll be shocked and awe when the shit hits the fan, just in your own life. In the world we live in, there's that. But then also, if there's smooth waters for right now for you and you have your head down and you can just drift along and just focus on yourself only, at a certain point, you're going to get jolted awake. There's a tsunami on the way, whether from the world or in the environment you live or in just life. Life throws tsunamis at us.
Yeah. I just want to answer the question of, are you a part of the problem or are you the part of the solution? And the simple answer is this, is that, and you said it, if you are looking for the truth, then you will not be a part of the problem and you will not be neutral. And thus you will be a part of the solution, because looking and finding the truth is the answer. The truth, whatever it may be. It prevents you from being a part of the problem.
Yeah. Just tell the truth. Tell the truth. Come what may. Tell the truth. The truth makes you free. You might be persecuted for it. You might be attacked. You might lose friends. You might lose family. But standing in the truth, and the truth also of what you need to do. There's a truth of who you need to be and in the face of it all. And then there's the truth of what you need to do and be doing that is strengthening your mind, your body, your spirit, meditation, physical practices, having your eyes open, being smart with your money, being a student of life, but one who's doing the things.
Yeah.
As Emerson said, do the thing and you'll have the power, but not doing reactively, doing from a bigger, greater vision, something greater than yourself.
I just want to caution, though, because there have been times in my life where I have discovered a truth and I tried to tell it to somebody who really didn't want to hear it. And those people become vicious and they try to gaslight you and confuse you. So I say to anybody who wants to walk the path of the truth, take it easy, go slow. Let it get to the point where that truth is really strong inside of you, so that no matter what happens when you come up against somebody and you start to try to share the truth with them, or you become this different person based on the truth, that they don't try to pull you back and tear you down.
Yeah.
Because then you have to start all over again. Just take it easy. Take it
wisdom.
Easy. Yeah.
The wisdom to know when to speak and when not. And when you speak the truth, tell the truth, be honest, rigorously honest with yourself and others. And don't throw pearls before swine. You're not trying to get people to get anything. And if you force people to get it, you don't get it. All right, my friends, thank you. And please share the show. We grow the show through you. Subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, the YouTube channel is Disrupt the Drift on YouTube. And if you're listening on podcasts, regardless, wherever you are in this, share the show and subscribe and leave comments. If you're watching on YouTube, we love to hear your comments. Send questions. If you want us to respond to a question you have, send it to disruptingthedrift@baronbaptiste.com. Until next time, you all keep aiming true, keep disrupting the drift, and peace be with you.